Hello, everyone, and welcome back to 4pixels. Coco and Kimi are here with Layfilay and Buttons, and we're continuing the letter.
Yay!
Woohoo!
Well, the fact that you're frustrated but still trying already means something, Ash. Besides, you don't make that face unless you already have an idea. It can't be any worse than this. Maybe.
Hmm.
Mm,
What's on your
Doubt.
mind, Ash?
there really is something about Z-Man. Between Rebecca and him, I tend to share feelings with him, things I won't normally say to the other. Unlike her who pushes, sometimes with the same tenacity as her moods, Zack has this strange tendency to ease people into telling him what he wants to know.
Because he's
Oh.
a good boy.
Mm-hmm.
He is the best boy.
Oftentimes, the question feels so subtle it catches me off guard, with less force and more forbearance. After all, out of everyone, he's the most grounded. Really, he's like the older brother I never had. Kind you can depend on when things go sour. The kind you tell things to simply because he'll listen, without forcing his own opinions on you.
We still have one more lead we haven't checked. I'm gonna look into it tonight.
It doesn't take long for him to put two and two together, and his calm expression abruptly dissolves to worry the second he realizes what I meant. We've already examined the letter, read through the piles of documented. We've already examined the letter, read through piles of documents. There's really only one we haven't given a once over. The mansion. Of course, Zack may not be the kind to push. That doesn't mean he agrees with everything that comes out of my mouth. It's his way of keeping me steady and on my feet through the years.
Hold on, didn't you tell me not to go in there? Whatever happened to stay away from Luke Wright?
You're an unarmed civilian, Zach.
And so?
So, I want you to stay here and keep yourself safe. I probably won't take too long, but I don't know what might happen. I'm not even sure if I'll find something in there. G will keep an eye on you guys. If you need anything, that woman shows up, just holler. He'll help out, no questions asked. You don't even need to explain anything.
He's not willing to concede, not from the manner he grips his knees or the rigid set to his jaw.
I'm going with you. You can't go in there alone, Ash. I heard something. The morning I was there, I heard someone scream, and then there was a woman crying, and I don't know what's going on inside that mansion, but I am telling you, you shouldn't face whatever's inside alone.
Before I can stop myself, a heavy breath escapes from my mouth. It's one of those times again where Zack means well, but he's completely missing the point I'm trying to make. When things take a turn for this, when he gets in a mood like this, he's almost as headstrong as Isabella. How and where do I even start?
Leaning towards bottom.
You'll only get in the way. I'd feel better if I don't have to worry about you. Yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards the bottom.
They both kind of suck, though.
They
Yeah.
both kind of suck, yeah.
But the bottom one sucks a little less.
Yeah, agreed.
Good, good.
Yay.
There are only two ways this will end. I agree with him and take him with me, or I agree with him and drop the idea altogether. Neither appeals more than the other, especially when they're all desperate for answers and a way out. If all it'll take is a little more honesty to make him drop this harebrained idea, so be it.
Look, man. Bro. Z-Man. Zach. Zachary, listen. I know you only want to help.
Like hell! This ain't just about helping, Ashton! You're throwing yourself in the thick of it on your own!
Oh,
Was your
damn.
fall last night really that bad? Did you hit your head hard? I honestly can't tell if you've gone stupid or just plain suicidal.
I would have hugged the small baby.
Me too.
My head's okay, Zach. But it won't stay that way if we don't do anything about this. Someone has to.
Seriously, this is already a desperate move. The longer we dally, the faster we're losing our options. Do we even have one? Looking back at it, this whole business with the ghost seems perfectly set up to drive us into a corner. Either we lose our mind or she gets us. It's starting to feel as if there isn't an escape. We've already become her playthings the second Isabella found the letter. That our lives are in her hands ticks me off big time. But the idea of watching the people I care about die helplessly? More so. They're much safer here than with me. It's a selfish thought, I know, born out of fear. So in case things go awry, the very last thing I want to happen is for Zach to take the fall with me. I've already made enough mistakes.
And that means it's just you.
Just me.
Suddenly, he clams up. Although his actions... The restless shift in his shoulders, his mouth pressing close in a tight line, and how he starts off again in a quiet note. It all gives away his real thoughts, long before 2 words have even made it out of his mouth.
I'm sure you already know about this. Maybe this is you trying to make amends, or whatever. I don't know. You're making your own decisions here. But if something happens to you, it'll be just that. You'll just be another dead body out there. Please, don't do something like this.
Don't worry. I'm not stupid enough to get myself killed.
Are you fucking
Doubt.
sure?
Doubt.
Press X to fucking doubt.
I just want things to go back to normal, Zach.
Another dead air follows the heels of the one of the one admission. Here we go. The meaning of my words, too heavy, too striking. It stunned us all into another lull. Optimism aside, we're both aware that's impossible. Going to have to deal with the trauma right after. There will be the images, the voices whispering inside our heads, the foreboding feeling, the stench of blood, gore, and death trailing after us. We may survive those things. They will remain with us for a long time. One does not survive something like this without it leaving something in you. Just the mere thought of what might come right after makes me dread it. What this has changed in all of us. But I suppose that outcome is more acceptable, the lesser of the two evils.
3 hours.
My head snaps up and I turn to him, puzzled, staring at his hands with a thoughtful expression, brows furrowed in deep concentration. Like he's trying to choose the right words to convey what he's about to say.
3 hours? For what?
That's more than enough time to go there, to check things, like you said, and travel back here. If you don't show up here beyond that, I'm going after you.
From his tone, it sounds almost like a warning. I'm sure it's not his intention.
Are you sure?
By hearing something like that from a person like Zach, I can't help but chuckle and throw in a jibe despite how dire things are. Just like the old times.
Make that 4.
What? You said you're just gonna check things. Why would you even need that long?
Speed limit.
Oh, come on.
I'm a ranked law enforcement officer, Zach. I'm supposed to set an example.
Oh my god, Ashton, get out.
I so wanna punch you right now.
Same.
Do it.
Of course, Zach never carries it out. In light moments like this, it's just how he is. How we are. Unfortunately, G chooses the next moment to show up. He slams the flat of his palm on the counter and shoots us both a stern look. Although his tone's nothing short of jovial, the disapproval's clear in it. He's obviously misunderstanding the situation.
Boys, drummer's nice and all. I used to watch these bloody god-awful afternoon serials with one of my brothers many, many years ago. But listen, I am not having one in my pub, all right?
What?
Do you want to fight? Go out.
What?
I think
A pregnant pause. And then a baby pops out. Wait, what? Then without any preamble, Zach and I are both snickering and G's glower melts into confusion. When we both show no sign of stopping, he simply shakes his head and turns away. I'd like to think it's better this way. Better that we part on light terms so Zach won't have to see every little insecurity, every little doubt in me right now. He's seen enough. The last thing I want him to glimpse is another display of weakness. Not when he still stares at me with the same unerring confidence in his eyes. When our mirth dies down, before anything can be said further, before I can change my mind, I step away from them. Giving Zach's shoulder a quick few pats, mumbling a lame excuse about taking another short nap under my breath. Altogether, burying the stray thought that flashes fleetingly in my head. Zach has seen me at my lowest plenty of times. Why does all of it matter now?
Oh, what a cute photo. Picture thing. Zachary's arrival interrupted Ashton's conversation with G. Left alone, the two attempted to mend things between them, only for things to almost turn sour after Ashton revealed his plans to return to the mansion. His friend eventually acquiesced after Ashton agreed to a time limit.
The sun hangs lower when I stumble back into consciousness and drag myself downstairs. Around this time, the patrons usually start to trickle into the main lounge until it reaches a peak around midnight. Today, however, it remains thin. But considering what day it isn't too worrisome for the kind of business G runs.
Ron, I thought you would say for this kind of bitch.
What I thought too.
I mean... Also, sorry, no, that doesn't make sense because pub crawls, specifically zombie pub crawls, are pretty popular on Halloween, so... He has always complained about the lack of a decent crowd on the week start, although he doesn't really begrudge his customers for it. No one wants to start the week with a bad case of a hangover, after all, even him. Which makes the concerned look he gives me come off a bit too odd. With the kind of danger we're in, this swiftly puts me on edge, even before sleep completely fades from my mind.
Something wrong, G?
G hums, but there's an undertone of annoyance in it despite his casual and open movements. And only after he finishes wiping a tumbler and carefully sets it face down on the table does he give me an answer. The way he stares back at me honestly makes me squirm. Feels like I'm being stared down by my primary school teacher for sleeping in class again.
Again?
Nothing much. Monday's still a slow day for this place. But you might want to check on your friends, kid. Looks like one of them woke up on the wrong side of the bed while you were out.
I wonder who.
I can't possibly imagine.
Another question forms in my head along with a small confused frown. Though before a single syllable slips past my lips. Yep, that's the words now. Rebecca's irate voice rings out from some part of the main lounge. Of course it does. From the sound of it, it appears woke up on the wrong side of the bed is a complete understatement.
Alone? You know we can't just go in there. But we don't have any other choice, Becca! There's really no other way. We have to go there. If you'll just... Isabella? No.
But Mom, I gotta go solve this mystery, otherwise the ghost is gonna kill us. Sorry, was that too on the nose?
No, it was okay. It was perfectly fine.
That doesn't sound too comforting. Once Rebecca assumes that kind of tone in an argument with Isabella, it usually ends with one of them walking out or both giving the other the silent treatment. And it lasts for about a week at most if it's really bad, which really isn't what we need right now. I have hoped the bad blood from this morning will simply blow over, after all of us has gotten a decent rest. I should have expected things won't be the same with them as it is with Zach and I. Turns out sleep isn't just what some of us need. Even G appears to understand it, in spite of his efforts to look as unconcerned as possible. There's a tense set in his shoulders. A nervous edge lingers in his eyes, as it occasionally flicks over where Rebecca and Isabella's voices are coming from. He doesn't want to deal with this, especially at the start of another busy week. Neither do I. Things have worked out well between them before without Zach or I meddling. The imploring gaze G directs at me leaves me with no other choice. It almost feels like he's guilting me into doing something about it.
Well, he gave you a place to stay. It's the least you could do.
Yeah.
I hate that it's working.
You know how I run this pub, kid. No fist fights, no cat fights, only good booze, bad puns, and off-key singing.
Sounds like a good place.
Go fix it before it blows up in your faces. I'd hate to throw two girls out of this place over a petty argument.
It's probably not as petty if Rebecca's already shouting like that, but I give him a nod nevertheless.
Sorry about this, G.
He hums something under his breath for an answer and waves me off, turning away and returning to his work without another word. Even with the lack of a sizable crowd, he likes to keep busy. We're the same in that regard. Can't remain still, always has to stay moving, doing something, thinking, whatever keeps the brain at work. I leave him to it shortly after. Rebecca's voice rings out once again, followed by Isabella's. But part of me wants to thank him for all the trouble he has taken for people he barely even knows. Once this is over, I should probably find some way. In the meantime, I have this immediate problem to fix. Gotta get to this before it turns into a shitstorm both of them will regret. And I know both of them will. For all of Isabella's complaints about Rebecca's bossy attitude, or how annoying Rebecca sometimes finds the other's childlike demeanor, It's a friendship they both cherish in their own way. Here we go with the cavalry music again. Charging into battle!
Choose your fighter.
Literally. Rebecca's already on her feet when I spot them in an almost deserted area of the pub. I'm willing to bet my entire life savings that people are staying away only because of the brewing storm. Rebecca can have quite the mood when she's crossed. I can't speak for Isabella. I rarely ever see her seething, but from what I've heard, it can be very unpleasant.
Does that mean there's an opportunity for us to see Isabella super pissed at Ashton?
Probably.
Oh, God, that'd be so good.
That'd be amazing. I want to see it.
The way she's glaring up at the redhead from her seat, regardless of how much the other woman towers over her right now, already says everything. Empty plates have been left neatly piled on one corner of the table they occupy. A conversation that turned sour sometime after a late lunch then. Good thing they're already done and nothing's left to be spilled. Okay.
Christ.
Because in the next moment, before I can approach and intervene, Rebecca slams her palm on the table. It sends the silverware clinking sharply against the surface. Isabella flinches momentarily, we both do, though she shows no indication of surrendering in the face of Rebecca's temper. Everything escalates from there.
You've already gotten us in enough trouble because of this let a ghost everything.
You're blaming me again.
And you can't expect everyone to fix your mess.
You fucking serious, bitch?
You keep on putting the blame on me, but you're the one who didn't listen. All of you. If you just listened in the first place, maybe this wouldn't have happened. But you're too busy acting like you know what's best for everyone, when in fact you're the one who's being selfish.
Ooh.
I'm the one who's selfish. Yet you're still going to do what you want anyway, even if the people around you are already beside themselves with worry. This is how you've always acted since we met, and I'm tired of it. Sometimes I wish you never even came here, because all you've given us is a headache. You know why I had to come here. My dad. Your dad has nothing to do with this. It has always been you and your whiny, careless self that has always been the problem.
Becca, calm down.
Wow.
Yep.
Damn.
Maybe I should have stepped in earlier. Maybe. Maybe I should have said something the moment Rebecca has slammed the flat of her hand on the table, or the second I've entered the area. Either way, it's too late to act. Harsh words have already been hurled between the two. Words more cutting than any blade, each and every one of them digging a wound too deep in the person they've been aimed at. For a long time, Isabella sits there in silence, while Rebecca stands unmoving, arms crossed and breathing heavy. Despite the lack of words between them, they're both vibrating with anger, refusing to meet the other's eyes. Ever so slowly, the atmosphere in the room turns thick and smothering. A strained air no one in the immediate vicinity, including me, dares to break, until the ones at the center do so. Rebecca definitely won't. At some point in our friendship, she has grown to become a woman firm with her opinions. She's never going to back down from this, not when she knows she has a point. Isabella, on the other hand, there's always been a certain stubbornness in her, As frustrating as it is to see sometimes, it's what has gotten her through her life's. It's what has gotten her through life's hardships. Perhaps even the only thing that has. When you have nothing else, people tend to cling on to what they have within themselves instead. But she also knows when to withdraw, when a struggle turns useless. Kind of awareness almost second nature to her. When enough is enough, Isabella abruptly stands and marches towards the exit, in fast, rigid steps away from the hurt and painful words they've let fly earlier. She bumps into me in her haste, the impact nearly knocking her off of her feet. Instinct kicks in at the last moment, and I reach out for her, grabbing her arm in a steadying grip. Prize flits across her face. Place.
You can do it. Take your time.
I can't do it. I can't read. I've suddenly forgotten how to read. Surprise flits across her face, an expression mirrored by Rebecca behind her. Neither of them have noticed me. However, that doesn't mean I won't have things to say about this.
Pretty
Take it
sure. Yeah.
Oh,
Pretty
Fuck
sure.
Rebecca.
Yeah,
sorry, Becca.
I agree so much.
We need someone at our side at the mansion.
You okay?
Good.
Yep, that was expected. Rather than answer her, once her shock subsides, she merely averts her gaze and hastily wipes the tears off her cheek.
Look at
Like-
Becca's betrayed face.
Good.
Like she only noticed them in that moment. Then, without another word or even meeting my eyes again, she gently brushes away my hand and runs off, leaving an awkward hush in her wake. Rebecca soon slumps on the chair Isabella has just left, gingerly reaching up to press the bridge of her nose and breathing out a ragged exhale. Arguments like this have always drained both her patience and energy, usually more than her rowdy students do, despite being no stranger to it. It's no excuse for her to say such things, though. And my disapproval must be clear enough on my face. When she finally glances back at me, her exhaustion immediately shifts back to annoyance, her mouth curving down to a tight frown. Cross my arms in response, waiting, a reaction verging on instinctive in the face of her irritation. Regardless of my opinions about this, I don't say anything yet, not until she's the one willing to talk. Another minute passes while we stare each other down, but eventually she breathes out again and relaxes her rigid posture.
What do you want, Ash? If you have something to say, just tell me, or I'm going back upstairs.
Stop being a
Did
bitch.
you really have to say it like that?
Alright, there's one thing I am going to have to ask. Rebecca's being like a shit now, but could we not use the B word?
Okay.
That's fair.
Thank you.
Well, how do you want me to answer her? Do you want me to just let her go there and do what she wants? I know you won't be too happy if I did that.
That's a low blow, Rebecca. Even for you.
Ooh.
We all know she wasn't even planning on staying here this long. There was no need to bring it up if all you wanted to do was stop her.
Did you even see how she's acting? She's not a child anymore. Even my students can do better.
Becca, she'll listen if you'll just ask her properly.
What a novel concept.
Oh. Amazing.
I know you mean well and you do have a point, but please be a little more thoughtful next time. Go think about it for a while.
Sent to her room.
Damn.
By some miracle, the whole discussion ends right there. Rebecca elects to stay silent, or at least it's how it seems when a minute or two passes and she says nothing. A rare occurrence when she almost always has something on her mind. Only an uneasy atmosphere hangs in the air when I finally decide to remove myself from the room. She doesn't stop me. Instead, something inexplicable flickers momentarily in her eyes, one that quickly disappears, only a vague notion of it remains in memory. But in that one exchange, I've caught a short, clear glimpse of what has shifted, of what's inevitable. So much has changed throughout the years. We will never be the same person we once were. And if it's for the better, we've yet to know.
Ugh. That like exhausted me.
Yep.
Yeah, wow.
I won't say she's the B word, but I will say she's a brat.
No, like the sentiment behind that word is wholly deserved, but since it's such a gendered
Yeah.
insult, I just don't like that word.
Yeah. But she is a brat. Like, she's absolutely being a bratty little a-hole.
Yes.
She's
Like, I get it. She's concerned. She doesn't want her friend to go to a place where she's likely going to go die. But,
but
like,
that's no need to throw I wish you had never been here. That's
Yeah.
like telling your child I wish you had never been born.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like that's just
Yeah.
something you do not do.
mm-hmm.
It's funny how she says that Isabella is no longer a child, and yet
But yet,
she keeps treating her like a child.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. That's, like, the biggest issue that comes out of this is, like, if you don't want her to act like a child, stop treating her like a child.
I loathe Becca. I don't understand. I don't know if it's the writing. Like if we just managed to bomb the entire point, and so by the time we hit this part, she's just a total raging jerk. But she's by far my least favorite character, and I do not care if she dies.
Well, we already screwed that up.
I think
I'm
at
pretty
this
sure we did.
point, with how much we have seen, I don't think we can even blame it entirely on choosing the wrong options with her.
Yeah.
Like this is ridiculous, and Becca's reaction is completely uncalled for, and I don't know if that's because we didn't I don't know if it seems so left field because we didn't find out stuff during Becca's chapter that we should have. But like this is just 50 shades of what the fuck.
Yeah, accurate.
Because as far as I'm aware, we didn't do really anything in Isabella's chapter to warrant Becca being such a nasty person to her.
Yeah.
No.
Like I
As far as
can understand her like being mad like at the start, but she just kept going and kept going and kept going, and like
I mean, I know that
Okay,
there's
stop.
that one thing Coco and I talked about, which led down an alternate path in which Becca and Isabella have like a more tender moment with each other.
Mhm.
But like, I don't know if that would have changed the entire personality of the character in every event that occurs with her.
The thing is that even if they were to be in better terms, from what we've seen from Becca's character, and especially in her chapter and in everything,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think. I mean, I think that Becca still sees her as a child, one way or another.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, that part, yeah, that definitely seems like a
And-
constant.
Isabella, even in her first chapter, pretty much regarded Becca as the mom friend.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that prejudice just keeps carrying through on both their parts and causes odd tension like this, in which this is the heat of the moment and we don't need to be breaking down and fighting like this, and yet here we are because we're overly stressed and we don't have any way to take it out.
Yep.
Because that's ultimately what this all is everyone is stressed out and they don't have a proper method of taking it out because they're also super in danger. So, you know.
But with that final thought, we will wrap this episode up right here. Thank you guys for joining us and see you next time.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.